Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking something literally mind-bending from our source material. We're looking at a truly radical forensic audit, a text that claims to connect the ancient massive architecture of the Great Pyramid of Giza directly to the early 20th century physics of Nikola Tesla. The source text presents what it calls a Gnostic indictment of conventional history. It basically suggests that the timeline of human technological evolution that we've all been taught is, well, completely wrong.
It all starts with one massive, reality-shifting question. What if humanity didn't actually invent wireless energy in the 20th century, but merely rediscovered it? This hook really sets an investigative tone for our entire analysis today. We're going to explore the source material's premise that these ancient megaliths were not just primitive stone tombs, but were actually highly advanced, solid-state machines.
Okay, let's dive into this. Our roadmap today covers 5 parts. First, the Planetary Power Plant. Second, Telluric Currents in the grid. Third, Tesla's modern Giza machine. Fourth, the business of scarcity. And finally, the Archonic theft.
Section 1. The Planetary Power Plant and the mathematical impossibility of the tomb.
So, the source material completely throws out the idea that the pyramid is simply a mausoleum built with copper chisels and wooden sleds. Instead, it audits the pyramid's materials, treating the whole structure like a schematic for a multi-gigawatt electrical capacitor. It points out that the original outer casing of white Tura limestone contained virtually zero metallic content. Why does that matter? Because it acted as a massive dielectric insulator to keep energy from grounding out. Inside, the core blocks of porous nummulitic limestone absorbed mineral-rich water from the Nile, essentially turning the interior into a giant electrical conductor. The text further argues that the Queen's chamber functioned as a literal chemical reactor, where zinc and dilute hydrochloric acid mixed to synthesize pure hydrogen gas. And finally, the King's chamber, built from Aswan granite containing 55% piezoelectric quartz crystal, functioned as a vibrating resonant engine.
Now, according to the source, all of these components work together to amplify a very specific frequency, 1420.4 MHz. This happens to be the ambient cosmic microwave radiation frequency of the ubiquitous hydrogen line. The text theorizes that the highly energized hydrogen gas from the Queen's chamber floated up into the electrically charged King's chamber. When ambient microwave energy struck this vibrating gas, it caused stimulated emission. Basically, the text is arguing that the Great Pyramid functioned as a masser, microwave amplification by stimulated emission of radiation.
And here's where it gets even more wild. The text claims that modern intelligence agencies have actually independently verified this ancient physics. The source cites a declassified 1984 CIA remote viewing session from the Stargate program. In it, a viewer named Joseph McMoneagle was tasked with looking at megalithic structures on Mars 1 million years in the past. He described a massive structure with intersecting water channels that looked exactly like a generator. The text argues this perfectly corroborates the acoustic hydraulic power plant mechanics it assigns to Giza.
Moving right along to Section 2, Telluric Currents and the grid, essentially Gaia's nervous system.
If the pyramid was actually a machine, what exactly was it tapping into to generate all this power? The text says the answer lies in telluric currents. These are naturally occurring, extremely low-frequency electrical currents that move constantly through the Earth's crust and oceans. The source highlights a landmark 2024 paper from the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences that actually mapped these continent-scale circuits. According to the research cited, these subterranean networks function kind of like the meridians in traditional Chinese medicine, carrying gigawatts of low-frequency electrical power all across the globe.
The text argues that ancient megaliths were designed specifically to capture the natural infrasonic song of the Earth, and the key number here is 7.83 Hz, also known as the Schumann Resonance. This is the fundamental natural heartbeat of the Earth ionosphere cavity. The source claims that structures like the Great Pyramid were built to act as massive, passive energy collectors. Think of them as planetary-scale tuning forks designed to resonate perfectly with that 7.83 Hz frequency. Which brings us to its location. The source emphasizes that the Great Pyramid isn't just plopped down randomly in the sand. It is positioned at the exact geographical center of the Earth's landmass. And more importantly, it sits directly atop a massive natural intersection of those subterranean aquifers and telluric currents we just talked about. The argument here is that the pyramid was deliberately aligned over this intersection to serve as the prime transmitting node for a global wireless energy grid.
All right, Section 3, Tesla's modern Giza machine, and specifically U.S. Patent 64556A.
Now, this is where the text makes a truly striking claim. It argues that the brilliant physicist Nikola Tesla didn't actually invent wireless energy. He simply rediscovered the exact physics of the Giza Plateau. The source text does this fascinating comparative analysis of the ancient pyramid and Tesla's Wardenclyffe Tower in New York. If you look at Giza, it used non-conductive Tura limestone as an insulator and a subterranean chamber to tap into those telluric currents. Then you look at Tesla's setup. He used a 187-foot wooden lattice tower as his non-conductive insulator, and he dug a 120-foot deep ground shaft, driving iron pipes another 300 feet down into the aquifer to create his own telluric tap.
Tesla's design, detailed in U.S. Patents 645576A, perfectly mirrored that ancient resonant transformer physics. By using copper and steel instead of limestone and granite, his system utilized the Earth's natural conductivity to pump electrical energy into the ionosphere at precise harmonics of 7.83 Hz. According to the text, the ultimate goal was exactly identical to the ancient grid, to provide free, unmetered power to anyone on the planet with a simple receiver antenna. Imagine that.
Which leads us directly into Section 4, the business of scarcity, or the Morgan betrayal.
Now, you might be wondering, if this utopian technology was successfully built 120 years ago, why on earth aren't we using it today? Well, the crucial point the text makes is that Wardenclyffe was funded by the elite banker J.P. Morgan. According to the source, Morgan initially thought he was investing in a wireless telegraph system, but when Tesla excitedly explained that he had actually created an unmetered world system of free energy, Morgan realized the implications. Decentralized, free power would instantly make his massive monopolies in copper wire and fossil fuels totally obsolete. The text argues this threatened the entire Archonic economic model, which relies strictly on scarcity and centralized control to generate profit.
And that brings us to our final part, Section 5, the Archonic theft, suppressing the global grid.
The source outlines a very dramatic and frankly ruthless sequence of historical events where this technology was deliberately suppressed by the financial elite. The timeline laid out in the text moves really fast. In 1901, J.P. Morgan pulls all funding and effectively blacklists Tesla in the financial community. Starved of capital, the project completely collapses, and by 1917, the Wardenclyffe Tower is literally demolished and sold for scrap. The text actually calls this the single most profitable act of sabotage in human history. The final blow comes in 1943 when Tesla dies alone in a hotel room and the FBI swoops in immediately to seize his life's work.
So what happened to all that research? Following Tesla's death, agents from the FBI's Alien Property Custodian Office seized his trunks and safes. The text points out that Dr. John G. Trump led the scientific analysis for the government, ultimately issuing an official report that dismissed Tesla's later work as purely speculative and of no practical value whatsoever. However, the source absolutely asserts this was a deliberate cover story, a highly coordinated way to bury the true physics of Giza, protect the fossil fuel monopoly, and allow elements within the deep state and military-industrial complex to quietly weaponize the science in secret black-budget projects.
Which leaves us with this final, incredibly provocative thought to consider. According to this source material, the physics of limitless, free energy weren't just a fun theory. They were proven 120 years ago, mirroring an ancient technology that predates recorded history. If that is true, what else has been deliberately hidden from humanity to protect an empire built on scarcity? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep questioning the narrative and keep learning.